CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss. Look who's starting it all off, it's Raven.
No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Payne. It's just gonna solidify everything for Mythos.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKC, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're gonna be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an Anvil immediately comes back and finds skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
And another night, here comes another piece of Overwatch coming your way. CGL Season 17 is on the roll right now. We are closing in on the regular season. Week 8 is very fast approaching us. Look at us. It is here now, 8:01 p.m. No minute later, we have our 2 teams here in the Grandmaster tier of the season. We have Odyssey Hyperion versus Vesuvius coming up online here. I'm Mott, joined by Mega Ninja, and I'm excited to cover one of the last games we have of the broadcast of the season before we get into the very highly anticipated playoff bracket.
Yeah, this is going to be a really exciting match. I've casted both of these teams before, and I've loved watching them perform. Vesuvius has been really powerful, right? The number 2 seed at the current moment in this GM tier. They've brought the number 1 team down a couple times now. You know, this is a team that has a lot to prove. They can get the dub done this season, and you know, this is just them trying to extend their dominant performance so far. Odyssey Hyperion a little bit lower in that number 6 slot, but I believe that, you know, if they could get this win here today, it puts them in a really good position going into playoffs.
Yeah, because when you're kind of between like that 6th to 8th spot, you're starting to walk a very thin line there in terms of qualifying for the playoffs. Because you know, people are starting to get those records pretty even, right? Right now, Hyperion are at a 4-3 match point record, 4 wins, 3 losses, and then Vesuvius are walking in with a 7-2. Granted, one of them is a bye, of course, and so realistically, more of a 6-2 record in terms of actual matches played. And you can see in the beautiful background behind us, the map pool, at least right now, map 1 is set for week 8. It's going to be the beautiful Greece island of Ilios coming up for that control spot. And before we get into, of course, talking about Ilios, we got to start talking about some apparent bans coming up our way, because we know what has been so strong, especially with OWCS and World Cup all happening at the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about like what's meta right now, what's incredibly strong, I mean, the support and the tank line is kind of where you're going to see the most. You're going to be seeing a lot of the diva. You're going to be seeing a ton of... I think Kiri Lucio is going to be the composition unless the team isn't comfortable running it. Of course, you do have that, you know, that one team that's like, I'm not really feeling comfortable on the Lucio. Let's go a Wu Yang instead, right? That does happen on occasion, but Kiri Lucio, the most dominant backline that we've seen in quite a minute. I'm not surprised if we see that for all of the maps today. The DPS is where things get a little bit more interesting. Flex DPS, you can go with a Tracer, you can go with Vendetta. I've seen a little bit of Echo and Pharah come out, depending on the map. We might see that on Ilios. And then in terms of hit scan, there's kind of a little bit of a debate going on right now. It's a little one-sided, but there is still a debate saying Sojourn or Emre. I personally think Emre is a little bit stronger, especially with Override Protocol, but I think that both are viable options depending on which one you prefer. But that is definitely the, I'm not going to say hard meta, but definitely the comps that we've been seeing a lot of teams run here so far.
I can't even disagree with you, because more often than not, you'll see that Emre come out. Override Protocol is extremely strong, especially with his ability to just kind of stabilize really well. Of course, he has a really nice healing passive, very similar to Halo, if you're a Halo player out there, as well as just the way he plays. I've been saying it wherever I get to broadcast, wherever I get to talk about Emre, I always say he is so buttery smooth to play. You just have to play, and you have to try him out yourself if you're not a DPS player. I am definitely not, but my goodness, I'm like, ooh, this character feels so good in my hands. And I can't blame people for really falling in love with the Turkish soldier, right? So with that in mind, right, we have Ilios once again in this Best of 5 first to 3 series coming up. Ilios, of course, every single week we always make sure we have a set control map, and then from here on out, whichever team loses, whether it's Odyssey Hyperion or Vesuvius, you get to choose the map and mode, and also I believe the first ban as well is what you're able to kind of have yourself as you get through the next maps and phases. So it's a lot of power that the lower side does get. Granted, they are one down whenever that happens. So it's really interesting to see how this is going to line up. But again, enough yapping from our end of things. Let's talk about our rosters. Let's talk about our players if we possibly can. Let's start things off with Odyssey Hyperion. Now, Odyssey Hyperion, right? They have a solid 5-stack roster, and also more substitutes also in the wings. But our starting 5 lineup: Nexus, Venom, Baby Yedu, and Wafuru and Bocek, all coming up in the game here. Of course, Nexus hovering over that Emre as his favorite character, and who's to blame, you know? So hopefully that Emre is not banned out quicker than we can ever see him. But that's Odyssey Hyperion for you. And Mega, let's talk about our other team, the Pompeii Volcano themselves, Vesuvius.
Yeah, we can definitely look at Vesuvius. We see Chris Kringle on the Lucio, Balake on the Ana. If anybody gets that sketch, I'm in love with you. Happy Dragon on the ball, Jubs 2006, and then Gravelot, I believe, on those 2 hit scan characters. A little bit of an interesting, obviously you can't go off of what they prefer in terms of what we'll be seeing out of them, but we do see that Vesuvius, both of their DPS like playing that hit scan, so maybe we'll be seeing a double hit scan comp run out here. That ball, I think if you don't run a diva, a ball as a second option is definitely a really strong choice. I think ball is, a little bit lower in terms of the tiers of tanks, but I think can definitely be done on something like the Ilios. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a diva ban came out first from Vesuvius and we saw the ball come out. But we'll have to see, of course. You can't really take the preferred over, what's good.
No, absolutely. Ball on Ilios has kind of happened a couple of times. Maybe not on the broadcast a couple of times, but it's been one of those things where you put like Ball, and you put Tracer, you put Soldier, and you put Kiriko and Lucio, and so you can't look at anybody. You know what I mean? So it has worked in the past, especially if you're talking about things like Lighthouse and even sometimes Ruins to an extent. But we have finally gotten to the coveted ban phase, and as you mentioned, right, Diva, very strong right now on the tank side of things, so Odyssey Hyperion are going to immediately take her out of the equation, which also opens up a good amount of other tanks that can be played here, especially if you're talking about dive. Winston, notably, is what comes to mind whenever I don't want to see a Diva. I get to go play Winston instead, especially, again, if we're referring to Lighthouse, or even Well to that extent.
Yeah, getting rid of that diva on Ilios is definitely a strong pick. Vesuvius, I think, is going to be okay with that, actually. I think they're going to... Oh, okay, the Symmetra is going to be taken off the board. I think the Symmetra, also a good ban. I think the Symmetra kind of counteracts the diva a little bit, so a little interesting to take that off when the diva's already out of the equation. But, Sim, a little bit of an interesting spot right now. I think that Symmetra is definitely an option if you can run it, but that's such a critical part, is if you can run it. Because if you're not a good Symmetra, then it just looks... and feels so uncomfortable for your team, right? You try to go for those teleports, it doesn't work, and then you're in a bad position, so you need to make sure that you're comfortable on the Symmetra before you pull it out in a game like this. So taking it off the board kind of removes that option from Odyssey Hyperion. Maybe they run that Symmetra occasionally, and Vesuvius is a little afraid of that.
I have to agree with you, right? And on that note, Symmetra is also a really good bunker down type of DPS character. Of course, you get to the point first, you set the 3 turrets, especially, again, Lighthouse is what comes to mind, and then you can't do anything. You can't walk in without being pelted down and by these 3 Symmetra turrets, maybe even 4 if you want to choose that extra turret perk there for the character. Now, let's get into the head-to-head and talk about everything else. And listen, it's going to be a fun one, right? Both these teams have a very, very close, I would say relatively close record here. Again, 4-3 versus 6-2. Okay, one of the wins is a bye win for Vesuvius, hence they would be 7-2. But you know, we're gonna count the actual match wins, at least for my side of things. So it should be a really fun one. You know, Diva ban and Symmetra ban. You and I have both talked at length about how your DPS can be kind of flipped around between Emre or Sojourn, specifically for your hit scan character. Flex DPS feels like they can kind of just play whatever their heart desires. I've seen the resurgence of Sombras, of Genjis, of Tracers, of course, a mainstay has been and will always be a mainstay DPS option for our flex DPS players out there. The back line, however, we mentioned it. Kiriko Lucio has been the name of the game for, I think, the entirety of Overwatch's lifespan. You know, after we rebranded and then went back to being regularly branded. They've been very strong for like ever and ever and ever. Some variations do apply. You know, Kiri Wu Yang, which you mentioned, has always been a pretty good fall guy if Lucio is banned out. On the other end of things, if Kiriko's banned out, then you'll see some more variations. Some Juno Brig, some Ana, and some Brig action, Lucio with really whoever you want to play, Baptiste maybe, right? So that has a little bit of merit in terms of what you guys might be able to see here from our two amazing GM rosters.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I'm looking at the matchups, right, between the compositions. Also, real quick, I did want to say, in terms of Kiri Lucio being really strong, I think, like, at the very beginning of Overwatch 2's lifespan, there was that small meta with Junker Queen where you ran Brig Lucio, and then there was, like, when Juno first came out, and it was like Brig Juno for a hot minute. But yes, you are completely right. Kiri Lucio has been a staple, a founder for like the entirety of Overwatch.
Yep.
Overwatch 2, Overwatch's
Overwatch.
duration. it's like a palindrome. You have to go back to it. But I think that they've been like, those supports are so incredibly impactful, right? Suzu. I mean, people always ask me, what does Kiri need to have changed in order to take them out of the meta? And I always say, we need to take a mallet to the character and rework them entirely, or just remove them from a game, because their kit is just so dominant that unless you change practically everything about it, you're gonna see them get playtime, right? Getting Suzu, getting to cleanse everything, teleporting away from any danger to a teammate. Rush, just an incredible ult. Like, there's so much that Kiri offers you that's just kind of just like, why not pick that character? But yeah, DPS wise, something else that I didn't talk about, but we could see it, it's gone a little bit out of the meta. But the Zarya Vendetta compositions are something that is definitely apparent still. It's seen a little bit less of the light of day, but there are still teams that like to run it. They like to bubble. All the Zarya does is they're like, okay, Vendetta, I'm going to give you a bubble, go kill things. That's all the comp is. And so a lot of teams, they're comfortable doing that. They're allowing their DPS to kind of pop off and their Zarya to kind of take a back foot. So we might see that come out with that Diva ban. I wouldn't be surprised if that came out. Maybe we see a Hazard, maybe a Winston. Ilios definitely allows more of those dive compositions. But I mean, you know, of course, it's just going to be down to how team preferences are and what their plans are going into this map.
Absolutely. You know, when it comes to, I can talk about Kiriko all day because I play Kiriko. You know, I unfortunately, I am the greedy Kiriko player that does get very happy when she gets like 5 skins per season. Yeah, that's me. I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry about it.
It's okay.
It's okay. Thank you for forgiving my sins. But let's, you know, when we talk about, I love that you mentioned Zarya and Vendetta in the meantime, right? Because you're right, that was, and to an extent, can still be a very solid option, especially if you kind of want to shut down a really dominant Diva, again, who is also very, very strong in the greater tank space. But Zarya and Vendetta is a reimagining of Zar Genji, which is a reimagining of Zar Reaper. It has been a combination that has really worked out for so long, and for honestly, I think prior to Overwatch 2, definitely prior to Vendetta, you know, that's for sure. So that's something that I also want to, you know, really highlight as well from coming in from you, is that's always a possibility. And Zarya really does overly rely on that Lucio to kind of get her moving around, get her around that map, get her around towards her enemies and beam everyone down. You know, being able to get free, what, 40% to 90% bubble charges off of your Vendetta, just kind of inting their brains out. It works very well for the most part, and then you kind of just leave, you go back to front, and you just kind of beam down the whatever other tank they're playing. Speaking of tanks, something that I've also been seeing in the greater Overwatch, you know, competitive space is Ramatra. Ram has kind of started to come back a little bit as well, especially as a preferred brawl hero. And finally, I think we're going to get into our head-to-head. Sorry about us yapping for so long. One of our players, don't know who it is, but I'm going to call you out, was updating their game, by the way. Like, we did not warm up before this match. I don't know who it was, but we are not warmed up.
Maybe we'll be able to tell off of the first map, right? Maybe we'll be able to like, hey, wait a minute, that guy looks like he just got on the new patch. But no, I think that this matchup is going to be really telling, right, about how this GM tier looks. I was looking at the head-to-heads in the latest matches between these teams. Vesuvius did really good in the mid-season, but they got eliminated by Lindenwood Academy, who eventually went on to win that tier in the mid-season. But then they came back, and in week 6, they beat them out. So despite being the number 2 seed, they have dominantly beaten Lindenwood before, so they're looking to get this number 1 seed under their belt and you know, get themselves in a really good position going into the playoffs here. We'll have to see if Odyssey Hyperion can kind of punch above their weight.
That's the goal, right? You always want to do better than you always want to just do better, especially as the season goes on and on and on for so long. I love seeing like the actual progression of teams as they start punching up, as they actually move from different divisions and they get into these way more intense. Like the GM is 1 tier below open tier, and open tier is really reserved for some of the best of the best here at CGL, and these guys are literally just a hair away from it. So we get into Ruins, finally into Ilios. We have the ball from Hype Dragon coming through, which you did mention, and we have the Hazard, another character I keep forgetting about, and we roll on by hand. Oh, we try to get environmental, but looks like the entirety of Vesuvius are able to stabilize relatively well, but Jubs with a follow-up onto the Cassidy, another hit scan character to see here. That's going to be a double whammy. First things first, elimination in the favor of Odyssey Hyperion.
Yeah, really good fight from them. They're just kind of collapsing from all angles onto Vesuvius. And their composition, right, they're running that double flex Sombra Tracer line, so it's going to be a little difficult for them to kind of have the pressure that like an Emre does, you know, kind of just shooting down main or shooting whoever they really need to. Just getting that ult charge online, you know, you can't really do that with this DPS line. So Vesuvius gonna have to take a back step, but they can. The good news about their comp is that they can run incredibly fast.
I do want to make a quick little mention here. Our rosters are swapped in the overlay, so it's actually Vesuvius having that lead at the moment. 25% of the point already in the favor of these guys, and they're just moving forward, continuously just pulling in all of this momentum, all of these eliminations in their favor. They do have only 3 people left, but Quarters having Balake healing up that ball and that Emre for so long. That's an easy way to stay having 40% in your favor.
Yeah, like I was saying, Vesuvius looking incredibly strong on this composition.
Yes.
Definitely didn't get it wrong the first time.
No, so did I. Oh, so did I.
No, okay, so now, okay, Odyssey Hyperion are going to be running the double flex with no Lucio on their side, actually. So Odyssey Hyperion, definitely a more interesting composition. We'll have to see how it plays out, but Vesuvius' Echo getting taken off the board is going to really allow things to happen for Hyperion. We'll have to see how this next contest goes.
It has to go really well, but here is the follow-up. Ooh, the Pulsar goes wide. Doesn't really find the Emre that Venom was looking for in the moment. In fact, Chubbs 2006 finds a reversal pick onto Bocek in the meantime. You see the loss of the ball though, that's big. You don't have a front line, you don't have a tank to soak up all this extra damage or even just the annoyance of this kitty cat from Wafuru. And that's gonna be elimination onto the Hazard. Blink comes, oh not Blink, excuse me, Duplicate on the Tracer comes through from the side of Gravelot, and it's still the Jump show, mind you, Mega. There's absolutely no way no one's able to kind of shut down this Emre any way, shape, or form, who does have the override protocol to use at any moment. Also, on top of that, is the minefield, which we're going to be holding on to from Vesuvius for a little bit longer. Late elimination onto Nexus. Downpour comes in, roots in the ball. Overdrive with the consumer does come through. It's a very extended fight here, which, mind you, obviously up here are still in the favor of the point. They still have yet to flip it back to Vesuvius' favor.
Yeah, Venom finds 2 kills, but it looks like the flip is going to come through eventually. They just need to get rid of this cat, who's been such a problem. Balake finding a 2-piece. Nexus getting a nice trade, but I don't think it matters all too much. Well, I'm assuming the Kiriko can hit the shots there. Okay, Happy Dragon finishes off that kill, and there's the flip. Really good stuff from Vesuvius there, but also really good on Odyssey Hyperion for stalling that out for so long. They steal 46% away. We'd already be in an overtime situation if the flip came through earlier, but now there's not a lot of ults available, but Balake getting taken down first is going to open things up for Odyssey Hyperion, who has that catnap available, which is such a deadly ult.
It sure is, but even better is having a 3v5, 2v5 advantage here for Odyssey Hyperion. It's very, very simple, neutral fight too. Nothing really expended as well. It's just Baba Yedu was able to just kind of seek out Balake very early on. And you can see Happy Dragon was trying to disrupt that dive onto the Kiriko. In the meantime, jumps a reversal onto Waifu, meaning no catnap and no Kiriko either, even though the rush is there. Venom follows up onto Balake easily, making a short work of both the Kirikos from either side, meaning Odyssey Hyperion are going to continue to get this point in their favor.
Yeah, Chris Kringle going to get staggered out here a little bit. And the flip came through from Vesuvius, but I don't think it's going to matter all too much as it's a 2v5. And I really like the rush there from Odyssey Hyperion. Yes, it's an overtime situation, but Odyssey Hyperion, they have 2 ults of their own. Vesuvius has that beat, though. That's something that you have to be careful about. This beat, I think, is better than the catnap, despite it being able to probably get one person off of the map. You're probably looking to kidnap Jubs or maybe Happy Dragon here once you see that wire come out, but it's going to be a battle of these ultimates to decide who wins this first objective.
The timing of that sound barrier from Chris Kringle could have either been, well, it was one of the best timings we've ever seen here on the stream, or it could have been a complete HI because Grab was right next to poor old Chris Kringle. We do hear the catnap coming in from Waifu. Is anyone going to get kidnapped and sent down off the map? It looks like not. It doesn't even matter. Odyssey Hyperion are able to take over the point, a downpour onto the poor old ball, who did have the minefield ready but couldn't proc it right then and there, and then suddenly 99%. There's no touch, there's no overtime. This can be a whole point in the favor of Odyssey Hyperion in a way that I did not expect.
Did I scare you?
Yeah, really good stuff from Odyssey Hyperion. I mean, they were just completely able to hold control of the objective, and I thought that last fight was going to be a little interesting, especially with Chris Kringle having that beat online. But it didn't really seem to have all that much impact on the fight, excuse me. But really good stuff out of Odyssey Hyperion, definitely showing that they can contest with this top level team. I think something may have to swap up here for Vesuvius. You know, I don't think this comp is working all too much in your favor, especially with this double flex DPS line. This ball is just kind of getting shut down at every opportunity, and then staggers are coming out, ults are being taken out of cycle, and you know, it's getting away from them a little bit. So we'll have to see if Odyssey Hyperion can keep up this pressure, keep up this aggression, or is Vesuvius going to come back to it?
Well, hopefully they do, because they had a great start. Oh, I mean, that's a better start than we were ever expecting. A virus combination on Nexus means that Sombra's not going to get any sort of care no matter what. And Jubs with the secondary fire finds a really close-knit call with the other hazards. Mind you, that man was so low. Does die, unfortunately, to bow checks Kiriko. Now suddenly we're in a little bit of a tough spot here. Venom on the Tracer really has not been contested all that much, in my opinion. Getting a lot of free eliminations, a lot of free, you know, setting up these eliminations as well for the side of the team or for himself at the same time. Now it's a matter of the fact, okay, now we're losing our members. We're trying to trickle back in for Vesuvius. They're not really able to do so. So point is starting to go back in the favor of Odyssey Hyperion, and they can hunker down here easily on Lighthouse.
Yeah, Odyssey Hyperion getting that first cap, and also we do see Graveloss hopping over to that Sombra, and Balake able to find a nice opening pick onto that Kiriko. It's probably going to be the go button for Vesuvius here. Let's see if they can, you know, convert this.
Oh my goodness, they're going to convert into a massive elimination against Odyssey Hyperion. My goodness, we call that a crime around these parts. Going to be only garnering about a fifth of the point in the favor of Odyssey Hyperion, and also winning themselves a stagger onto Venom, poor guy. But not really the end of the world. It's still relatively early in the secondary map, and honestly, if you are Hyperion, you're still looking good having a point already in the scoreboard.
Yeah, and also something to point out is that the Pulse Bomb is going to be the first online here for Venom, and there's nobody to really contest Venom on this Tracer, right? Oh, this cat's going to go deep and try to look for something, but just takes him off of the high ground here. But this Pulse Bomb can be so critical to deciding these next couple of fights.
Oh, I hate this. I hate fighting a hazard in these small spaces. You wanna know why? Because that jagged wall is just, it's a no-go zone, no-fly zone for anybody trying to stabilize in that small room against a hazard and a mini-pack. It's a very quick fight here, Mega, and honestly, I can't blame them. They just kind of found them lacking in a very small room. I'm hazard. What else was there to say?
Yeah, I mean, just getting those jagged edges directly into the spinal columns of all of those players, those squishies, is just so devastating for them. Jubs and Chris Kringle trying to get out of it, but look at the ult charges for Vesuvius. The catnap is going to come through, not going to be able to connect onto anybody, however. But Vesuvius has a lot of ults going online here. They can definitely try to flip this, but you have to make sure not to over-ult. That would be so devastating for them.
Nexus is constantly getting scouted out by Grave all the time, and like I know why they're playing Sombra. It's for the Happy Dragon ball here, but nothing able able to get out of it. Wow, Jubs has walked right into a jagged wall, plays directly on that spinal cord, as you mentioned. We're gonna actually engage with an EMP anyway onto the ball. HP Dragon just could not get out whatsoever. We're gonna try to flip things around with a... Wow, that's it. Wow, that was actually kind of insane. A really big EMP reversal from Nexus means that we flip the point at 65%.
Yeah, but look at the ults from Vesuvius, right? They have 4 ults coming back for this next engagement. Odyssey Hyperion don't have the ults to contest it. Sure, they have their own rush. Sure, they have their own downpour and a pulse. But, I mean, Vesuvius can absolutely just ram them home with, you know, the power that they have.
Tried to knock down this Chaser off the high ground, forcing one blink, if not 2 of them. Also, the recall is still online here again. Jubs is constantly being looked at on the backside of things. Cannot really keep track or keep any tabs on where this cat is going, because Waifu has 1 goal and 1 goal only. It's just kill Emre challenge, and he's doing a great job of doing so.
Yeah, and this is looking like it's going to be the end of the map.
No.
This ball doesn't have touch. Oh, that's so devastating. They have the ults available, but they just don't touch the objective, and Odyssey Hyperion take the first map. A complete surprising result, honestly, considering they're the number 6 seed. If I was to look at just their match history, I'd be like, wow, Odyssey Hyperion get taken in a 3-0 situation, but they surprised me, and they definitely showed up today.
No, I have to agree with you. I really did not think that Odyssey Hyperion were going to do as well as they did going into Ilios, especially on a comp like Hazard, right? Hazard, a character that, you know, you can play him a couple times if you're playing some sort of dive, or you want to play some sort of dive, but in the grand scheme of things, you don't really see him be played all that often. But then you suddenly start to remember small things about Hazard, especially if you live through Hazard release time era, right? Where it was just like, I can't do nothing. I use my cooldowns correctly and I still die? Yeah, that's what I'm getting reminded of when I'm seeing Odyssey Hyperion run this Hazard very, very well, mind you. Vesuvius had a right idea playing that ball, but I do think there was... the biggest thing to me was just making some of the wrong choices of where to take some certain fights, notably small enclosed spaces against a Hazard who's playing around the mega pack, playing around that jagged wall, cutting off exit points for the other team, you know, and you kind of result in a lot of different staggers that are kind of happening mid-fight, end of fights as well. You're able to only use the downpour onto a ball to root him down. You know, they're really doing a good job of mitigating the ability to use any of their ultimates or any of their cooldowns in a way outside of just panic, kind of just pressing the Q button in a panic state. Hence, I think that EMP and the minefield that we saw earlier, it was alright, but you called out the best. They didn't have the amount of ultimates needed to pad out a 4 ultimate fight versus their measly 2 in that last engagement.
I mean, yeah, but then it just unfortunately became a situation in which there was no contest from Vesuvius. They get taken too low. The beat and the override protocol aren't, you know, back in time, and then it kind of just fell away from them a little bit. They couldn't get that extra touch. They needed to get that extra touch, but they weren't able to get away with it. And so, you know, Odyssey Hyperion take that in a pretty impressive showing. Definitely shows that, you know, the bans that came out were pretty important. Maybe taking that diva off of the board is something that, you know, okay, here's the thing though. I'm gonna full stop. Full stop.
I'm listening.
The diva ban is off of the board now for one of these teams.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't matter that the other team has the diva ban. I'm not sure they're going to ban it out in the end. But now that diva's online, and no matter what you say, I think diva is better than both Hazard and Ball, which probably means if we were to go back to that Ilios map, we would probably be seeing the diva mirror. But we, of course, didn't see that. It was banned out. But now it allows so many more opportunities for that diva to be played. It allows that diva to come out and just kind of, you know, show us, you know, maybe you're not comfortable on the Hazard, maybe you're more comfortable on the diva, maybe you're more comfortable on the diva than you are the Ball, right? There's definitely preferences. But I think the diva gonna be coming out kind of shows us our first... I'm not going to take it away from Odyssey Hyperion, but I think having that diva on the board is going to make things a little bit better for Vesuvius.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think having diva at least back online here and, you know, having to force different types of bans, I think notably more DPS or support focused bans here will be the best choice here coming into Suravasa, the most popular Flashpoint map, at least from what I have seen. I think Atlas is starting to get a little bit up there as well, as people are getting more and more comfortable. I think with also things like Diva and Zarya being pretty solid on Flashpoint right now, I think, you know, she's getting up there, but Suravasa will always reign supreme in terms of all the Flashpoints available. Now we gotta talk about, again, we talk about bans, we have Diva back online. I also don't think that we're gonna see a reversal ban coming in from Vesuvius here, or from Odyssey Hyperion, who maybe wants to play D.Va. So with that in mind, Vesuvius banning out first. What could they go with? Mind you, I believe last time they banned out Symmetra, I want to say. And I think it was actually Hyperion that banned out D.Va. So we'll see. They're going to ban out Hazard. They're like, yeah, no more. We've had enough. Not going to do it this time. You're a little too strong in that Hazard. So let's go somewhere that's a little bit more. Let's go with something that's a little bit easier to deal with. Could be D.Va, could be Zarya, could be Ram, could be really any of these amazing tank selections in the roster.
Yeah, now I'm on the side of Hyperion. What am I taking off the board? Maybe I take out a backliner, get rid of that Curie Lucio. We saw them run no Lucio on that last map, so maybe they can take that off of the board and make Vesuvius a little bit more uncomfortable with that Lucio taken off of the table. They could ban... Okay, Soldier ban is...
We're just making things up. Okay.
Soldier ban is definitely interesting. Not one of the top hit scans right now. I would probably say Emre, Soj, and probably Cassidy are your top 3. Soldier is not being seen all too much, so a little bit of an interesting ban out. I don't really know why that ban's out, I'll be honest with you.
Sometimes it comes down to just, we gotta ban something, just ban Soldier, call it a day. You know, it's kind of like the epitome, the equivalent of like a Life Weaver ban, a Mercy ban, at least in my books, a Doomfist ban, you know, so I think that's kind of where we're going with that Soldier ban. Also, you know, I agree with you. Soldier as a character, not something you really see all that often. Unless you're in like your ranked games, I think he's a really good individual character to play if you're playing ranked, but when it comes to organized team play, he does kind of fall flat on his face more often than not. So with this being in the minds of both of our rosters, we do have ideally the return of that Venom Tracer, which was getting way too much value, and I really am hoping that Vesuvius, between one of their preferred Hiscan players, of course, Gravelot and Jubs, both preferring to play Hiscan, hopefully they can decide amongst themselves, do we want to have somebody kind of keep Venom in check more? Because leaving a Tracer to be unchecked on Saravasa on any Flashpoint map, really not exactly gonna go well for the other team usually, you know? So I hope that's something that is being talked about for Vesuvius as we go into Saravasa. Again, series point, not quite yet here, but Odyssey are looking very good with and if they can repeat that success of Ilios on Saravasa, we'll be on match point in no time.
Yeah, something now that I'm thinking about is, yes, they got rid of that Soldier just for like the love of the game, but I mean, if you're gonna run that Tracer and you know that they don't really have another Tracer to match you, why not ban the Cassidy? Because the Cassidy is something that can shut down the Tracer pretty easily if you can get that Hinder Nade connected. So, I mean, I think that could have been a potential ban that we saw from Odyssey Hyperion. But now, with the Hazard ban and the D.Va in the play, I wouldn't be surprised if Odyssey... That's bait. I'm not falling for it. That's bait. We're not running out on that comp from Odyssey Hyperion. We're not...
Hey, respect the Reinhardt, man.
I'm not falling for it yet. I don't believe. There's no way. There's no way. I don't believe it.
I think we can believe in Vesuvius' comp, though, at the very least. I think that the ball can absolutely make a reappearance. Jubs can make a reappearance on that Emre as well. Likely, I mean, anything could really happen here for the sim swap after we TP out of spawn. Could be Tracer, could be Echo again, which had a little bit of success, but I'm really glad they're going the kind of route of, yeah, I think we're going to keep somebody keeping tabs on Venom's Tracer, and oh my god, Suzu baited out immediately off of one fire charge. That's called value around these parts, and that's what Baba was looking exactly for. One engagement comes through from Hyper Dragon onto the back line. Now looking for that Emre, boop around, and the follow-up is definitely there, but it results in a mutual trade twice. No support, however, coming in from the side of Vesuvius. They can make all this work with just Jubs, Grave, and Hyper Dragon.
Yeah, we are going to see that Reinhardt. The best thing that the Reinhardt can do in the current meta of our Lord of 2026 is stay on the objective, and that is what this Reinhardt is doing right now. Just sitting on the objective, trying to survive as long as they can, eventually get taken down, and it looks like Vesuvius is going to get this first cap. I don't love that. You know, obviously, I love Reinhardt. I love him as a character. But do I think that he's going to be stayed on? I don't think so, as the rest of Odyssey Hyperion kind of fall away. And I don't know. I think we need to kind of swap this Rhine up if we want to kind of get anything going. I don't think we have the speed or the teleport allowed in order to do something about it.
I really have to agree with you, and especially because this comp is all about angles. Tracer on your left, this ball on top of you, Kiriko on your right, there's a Lucio speeding everyone towards you. and Ryan does struggle so much with being out-angled. If he's not looking directly at you with his shield, he is so naked and vulnerable to anything you throw at his way. That being said, speed ring engagement is definitely one to be seen, and we get pinned by that, and we're gonna see the override protocol needs to get procced here because we're down at Kiriko. We're down a very imperative member of our team, so we can make space. That's the exact thing we want to see until you lose Venom as well. So Odyssey Hyperion looking a little bit worse for wear. They only have 4 members going into this fight, and my Ryan is all surrounded around a minefield. Here's the pin, the stun, but Baba dies in the meantime.
Yeah, it looks like Vesuvius is going to take this first point in a 100-0 situation. No ult spot from Odyssey Hyperion, however, so Vesuvius, you know, they did have to use the mines and the override protocol in order to get the job done. So Odyssey Hyperion finally going to get off of that Reinhardt, go over to the Mauga here. I don't know if I love that swap anymore, because you're just such a big target for somebody like this Emre, for this Tracer. We'll have to see how it plays out, but I mean, they have some ultimates online that can definitely guarantee this first cap if they choose to use them.
Where he's coming for you, and we stopped. Yeah, we had to stop here. I do think the Mauga is definitely also an interesting choice because to track down the ball, track down the Emre, track down the Juno, the Tracer, a little bit difficult to do. However, for Hippie Dragon, it's still easy to just kind of look at the Kiriko on the opposition and then just take him out immediately. Also negating the use of the continuing rush at all, meaning that Vesuvius once again are able to hold on to his first point with relative ease. Look how low Baba Yedu is, and then there we go, back in the spawn room where we belong, says Vesuvius as they continue to hold steadfast on the point.
Yeah, and Odyssey Hyperion, they have 4 ults. They can go first with these ultimates. Go in with an EMP, right? You don't have to be defensive with your ult. You don't have to use your Ray when your team is low. You can use your Ray to go in. And I think that's exactly what they need to do as Baba Yetu finally swaps over to that Diva, which I think is such a better pick. And I think this EMP here is going to be absolutely massive.
Oh, it sure is. 3 people in that EMP, including the override protocol from Jubs, and Balake basically rendering that container was completely moot. What I don't like, though, Mega, is the fact that honestly Hyperion will use both the rush and the orbital ray, leaving the backline without anything to at least put some pressure onto Chris Kringle's sound barrier here.
No, I don't love that at all. You over-ult there. Yes, Vesuvius did use their override protocol and their own rush, but you stacked your support ults in a fight that's pretty important for you to win. Otherwise, it's going to be a 2-0 situation, and they still have that beat online, and you don't have anything to contest it. So now Vesuvius has such a good opportunity in order to get the job done. But a nice kill on the Gravelot is going to enable a 4v5 situation. We'll have to see as the beat comes out if it's going to be winnable for Odyssey.
The beat came out, but no one got really any of the over health either, I will say, going up against 1v1 against Emre, especially when he is able to have access to the secondary gun. That's a little bit scary to deal with, right? So even though the Pulse got eaten up by Baba Yedu, as well as the Chris Kringle's overhealth kind of getting depleted in like milliseconds, nothing was able to stop the forces of Vesuvius from Odyssey Hyperion. All they have is a pulse bomb and maybe a remake here, but do they have a touch? They sure do not. Oh, even Venom's like, I was definitely on the point, and I agree with you. I thought you were on the point too.
I thought he was on too. Gravelot gets taken down, and it looks like the rest of Vesuvius is going to be the next to fall. But they already have a 2-0 lead in the fight right now. It's just going to be a little bit of a stagger situation. C9 is called from Gravelot, a little bit of a BM play there. But Odyssey Hyperion have 2 ults on their board, but neither of them are really that impactful. Yes, the Pulse Bomb can definitely find 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. But the problem now is the fact that the bomb doesn't really do anything. It's more just in order to get a remake going. And the mines for Happy Dragon is definitely going to be an impactful ult to be used.
You hear the nerf dips coming out. We gotta make sure we don't die mid-remake, and we don't, thankfully. But we do lose 1, or at least we lose 2 coming in from Vesuvius. A double whammy. No Kiriko, no Emre. The hack even better, actually, does not connect onto the ball or onto the Tracer. My goodness. No one is playing this hack, which lasts like 1 second, by the way. It is going off. There it is. It does connect onto the ball, but that's all that we need. 1 hack moment and 1 follow-up, and there goes Happy Dragon, not able to stabilize or stay alive any longer on the objective. And yeah, Jubs gets a 1 on the exit at the very least, and Nexus is scouting out this angle where Jubs is just free-firing into the backline. My goodness. Oh, hold on. Is this shut down here? No, it is not. We got back out.
Yeah, Balake gets taken down, but I think Vesuvius still can re-engage on this objective and get that flip. Now it's going to be a battle between these DPS ultimates. Which ones are going to be better? Obviously, the pulse bombs can go band for band, but here's the thing. I think the Sombra EMP counters that override protocol so incredibly well. So we'll have to see how this comes out.
Just got a solo EMP, by the way, which means that override protocol is going to have extreme free range, really. Again, using both the overdrive protocol and the pulse bomb in the same breath. Not really as egregious as double support ulting, in my opinion, so not really the end of the world here. And then on top of that, you're going to get a little bit of a later stagger onto this D.Va, not allowing Baba to go for the self-destruction on the lake there. So 55% of the point in favor of Vesuvius coming up on the rush, mirroring that between Balake and Bocek. Should be a good fight, honestly, for Odyssey, though.
Yeah, Odyssey definitely have the advantage going into this, but you need to make sure you don't overall. You cannot stack support ult again. That would pretty much guarantee the map for Vesuvius, because then you'd be down so much, especially with that beat coming online here.
Oh, Power Driver finds walkthrough early. But we do get a D-Mech in the meantime as well. So Vesuvius, again, looking really good, primed to take over this objective. They lose out on Emre, but they do get a nice little 3-0, you know, cherry on top of the cake there, making it evening up the series 1-1. So we're not gonna get an easy one in our hands tonight, Mega. We're gonna get a pretty even series tonight.
Okay, to be fair though, Nexus does steal the play of the game from the Emre.
Yes.
So you gotta be a little hey, you know Nexus is in call right now going, hey, got my play. Who got play of the game though? Not me. Oh, dude. You know, it's a little interesting to say the least. What happens out here in terms of that map. I think that Vesuvius looked a lot stronger. But the question now is, you know, what changed? Because it's not like they played the D.Va, they stayed on the ball, and the Symmetra was never a question, so what changed? Is it really the Hazard ban that came out? I don't know. We'll have to see, as now Odyssey Hyperion have control of the map and get that first ban, so we'll have to see where they decide to take us.
The fact that one measly Hazard ban is what took it. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna walk out Reinhardt. You know, like...
There's no plans. There was no plans.
There was like, Liz, we're gonna sandbag this map. It's fine. We're gonna get 3-0. Then we're gonna get Hazard back. That's the big thing. We're gonna get Hazard back. Yay, we got Hazard. Yippee, yippee, yippee. So I'm not saying that's actually what happened. Of course, I love all my players, and of course they were probably actually trying their best. But I will say, like, there was definitely a big flip there momentum between map 1, where we had access to Hazard and Sombra, and basically being uncontested almost wholeheartedly all over Ilios. And then we lose a Hazard, we go out on D.Va, we go on Reinhardt, and we get completely, honestly, overwhelmed by this ball tracer comp, which we're not used to. We just seen it on Ilios, and we just beat it, is also the big thing I also want to talk about real quick. So that's something that we do need to at least take note of, but we move on to greener and greater pastures here. We are going to see the Odyssey crew have map selection here, as well as the first ban of choice. This could really go either way. I really do think they might want to look towards a DPS ban. My immediate instincts say Tracer or Emre, or even, honestly, yeah, Tracer or Emre. Holiday or Sombra, only because if I'm going to keep playing ball, I don't really want to get hacked out and virused by Sombra any longer. It has been enough of that for our poor ball player.
Yeah, but while we're thinking about map selection from the side of Odyssey Hyperion and in terms of bans also, we are going to throw it to a quick break. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back with map number 3 in just a couple of minutes.
And we're back. Boom, bam, bob. Quick little 3-minute break. Give our teams a little bit of time to breathe, take a breather. Now the series 1-1 is tied all the way up. We had an amazing Suravasa map, 3-0 for Vesuvius, right after the 2-0 beatdown that Hyperion gave them on Ilios. It can be anyone's game here. So as we get into game number 3, we gotta talk about the fact that if you're talking about mental and everything, you shouldn't be too crazy. You shouldn't be booming just then, just now. It's even. It's all good. You have Hazard back, at least, you know, having the Hazard be banned out earlier. So let's get into our map number 3, see where exactly the side of Hyperion are going to take us. And it's pushed 10 minutes of Esperanza between you and I.
Yeah, Esperanza definitely leans more again towards. I think the current map pool that we have in CGL right now allows a lot of it allows a lot of dive compositions to be kind of run. You know, this kind of map pool that we have allows a lot of, you know, the diva comps, the hazard comps. So I think that we might be seeing that hazard come right back out to play, and the ball is definitely going to be available to them. I think the main question is Odyssey Hyperion gonna stick to that double flex DPS line, or is it going to be an interesting situation in which they finally get a hit scan on the board? Because I think that Emery did a lot on that last map, and so my important questions are going to be, what are bans going to be? That's really what's going to be important here. You can't ban the diva, you can't ban the hazard. So it's going to be a little interesting to see what they take off the board.
No, it really is going to be interesting. I think one of the biggest things here is Esperanza. I think if you have the opportunity to ban out ball, you should take it here more than anything else, if not another dive kind of map here. Because, you know, ball can work. I've always said this. Like, ball does have maps where he definitively does not play good on or plays well on. But ball mains don't care. They're like Doom mains, where they make it work anywhere. I will say, having the Emre band out from Odyssey Hyperion, I really like it. It's always a pretty solid band to have. I think it's also becoming a more recognized band as of late, with how much Emre has really emerged as a preferred DPS pick for a lot of teams. Vesuvius, counting down the numbers, gonna see if we kind of default over to a tank band. Mind you, they already banned out Hazard. Could go for the Wrecking Ball. And for the support side of things, that can also be a really good indicator of what we want to ban out as well. We've seen a lot of Kiriko Lucio. We can go for that. We can also see a Juno ban. We can see a lot of things happen here. And it's going to be the map 3 Kiriko ban, a classic around these parts.
Yeah, Kiriko definitely an interesting choice here. Kind of makes your backline a little bit, have a little bit of question marks above the head, right? What backline are you going to run? It's going to not be that Kiryu Lucio. You can maybe run the Lucio with something else, but it would have to be like a Juno, maybe a Baptiste, but that slows down your comp a lot, and the Bat becomes a really large target. You could run the Juno Brig, you could run the... There's so many different backline compositions. I feel like once the Kiryu Lucio is taken off of the board, the backline just becomes a free-for-all. You can kind of just run whatever you want, as long as you have something going on that has like some kind of speed, some kind of flex support. You know, you'll never see a double main with Kiryu taken off of the board. But, you know, that definitely shakes things up in terms of what's going to be run. I'm very interested to see what the backlines look like they'll be.
Well, not only just the backlines, but also the front lines. We have a little bit of a substitution coming through. We have the loss of Hype Dragon, mind you, who was always playing the ball. And now we have Albert coming in his stead on or at least hovering over a favor of the Junker Queen, which could be an indicator of what we could see coming into Esperanza. This could evolve into a complete rush ball kind of composition style if we can kind of hold true to that Queen preference. And now we can get into Esperanza. Once again, Emre and Kiriko banned out here. 10 minutes on the clock to get all the way as far as you possibly can. Ideally, you want to get to that entire 148 meter marker here on either side of the board. Points are even too, so next guaranteed map win here gets you a match point, and gets you to series point as well. So it's a lot on the line coming in, and honestly would also help out and help boost your confidence going into that guaranteed map 4.
Yeah, Odyssey Hyperion, being the lower seed, would love to be in a position where they're up in match point situation. We do see Albert in, so that's going to be taking the ball off the table, but we do see a very interesting backline, something that hasn't been seen in many, many moons, and that's going to be the Moira Lucio backline from Vesuvius. Definitely not a common occurrence. And we do actually see Odyssey Hyperion also going over to that hit scan, getting that Cassidy on the table. Okay, just me when I lie. Me when I lie for fun. It's going to be Hazard and double flex.
Oh my god.
What?
The comp. Wait, Odyssey, it's not 2024 anymore. I promise it's not 20. You don't have to play Juno Brig Hazard. There's nothing.
The war is over. The war is over.
The war is over. We have better things to look forward to. This is actually giving me like complete flashbacks. This was big when I was competing myself, and it was all about that play between the Juno and the Brig, and the fight is starting to unlock here. Point is unlocked. We're going to see Odyssey Hyperion first take the point back and forth a little bit here, but it's completely it's kind of a stalemate until Balake with a kill onto Nexus. My goodness, 1, 2, 3 eyes on me behavior, and now you have to back out as this Hazard. You see Jub going for the back end, trying to catch you guys by surprise. Whips on the Juno with this rocket. Oh, you saw how fast Baba Yetu was pulled back by the Gracie? Yeah, this is a cool player.
Yeah, they forgot something. They forgot something. Okay, there we go. We finally get somebody on the objective. Get some meterage on the board. But yeah, it looks like Odyssey Hyperion. I think I like. Okay, we are going to see a swap over to the Domina now, which I think I like a little bit better, especially into that Queen being able to stun, maybe mid-axe swing is definitely something that could be incredibly important. I'm a little interested as to why Jubs is on the Soldier. Definitely more interesting choice. And they're not going to be going out that right side, actually going to be meeting them near that checkpoint. So, you know, if Odyssey Hyperion loses fight, this could guarantee the first checkpoint immediately.
I also really love the Domino swap here as well. This big old shield makes Queens like a whole lot harder than it has to be. But at the very end of the day, you will be able to get a guaranteed checkpoint. You're losing out on Jubs, so as you mentioned, playing that Soldier into this composition, not one of my favorites ever in the world, but it'll be fine as long as we are able to get that checkpoint, and then we try to run away. It looks like they're going to result in a couple of eliminations, especially if we can die on the bot. Waste a little bit of time for Odyssey Hyperion, who are starting to bring it back, right? At least you have forward spawns here for Vesuvius, so you'll see Albert and Balake coming back as soon as possible with, of course, the Cole in tow.
Yeah, Odyssey Hyperion, even though the Cole is online for Vesuvius along with a lot of other ults, Odyssey Hyperion, I think, have the advantage. I think Ray is going to do wonders for them over that Coalescence, and that rally can shut down so much, right? The full spawn's going to whip. Just, me when I lie, Venom walks into it as like a parting gift, and now Odyssey Hyperion in a 45 situation. Let's see if they can even it out.
Oh, they're definitely going to. They're going to actually make it way more disadvantage for Odyssey Hyperion. Double kill here on the back line, on the DPS line of Venom and Nexus following thereafter. Baba Yetu finds a singled out Moira somewhere, somehow, some way, but with Wafaru unfortunately kind of cornering themselves or cornering himself in this little hole here on the main point. That's an easy way to kind of take care of that Brig early on. Thankfully, they get the Brave respawn with their tank and other support, but this is a very easy way for Vesuvius to not only set up forward spawn, but also move quickly into enemy territory.
Yeah, but look at Odyssey Hyperion. Oh, actually, look at both of these teams. They have so many ults on the table. I mean, this is going to be an all-out brawl in order to get the job done. I think Odyssey Hyperion should walk away with this a nice phenomenal punch and open things up, but...
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, that's a really nice kick, and it looks like Odyssey Hyperion are going to lose this away, potentially.
I don't... We use Rally in the middle of that fight here. It forces out... I'm sorry, we use Rampage in the middle of that fight. It does force out the Rally from Wafaru, but I think Wafaru will be okay with that because it actually did help out a lot in that fight to at least make sure that Queen did not get any value with the Rampage. But my goodness, Albert throwing in the Rampage, and that's a lot. We had to expend that fight. Thank you for coming up on the Sound Barrier versus the Deadeye. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think the only way Odyssey Hyperion win this next fight is if Lucio dies first.
Oh.
That is exactly what I was going to say. That is a really nice opening pick, and that's going to allow Odyssey Hyperion to kind of take this fight.
Great. I mean, no notes. You predicted it exactly.
I literally was about to say this Lucio needs to die first before getting that beat online, and that's exactly what happens. And that allows Odyssey Hyperion to probably get a forward spawn here and kind of even things up a little bit. Vesuvius should get a touch before they lose the lead, but I mean, this is a little bit of a dire situation for Vesuvius. They're going to go in with the beat, but let's see if it's enough.
Oh my gosh, it's not gonna be enough. The Deadeye comes, well, the beat is gonna be enough to overpower the Deadeye. Thank goodness. I was getting a little bit scared that, you know, you can still get destroyed by a Deadeye even with the sound barrier online there. But with that being said, we're gonna continue to see the flip of the point back over to the side of Vesuvius, who were losing out on that engagement. Thankfully, the fight was so powerful that I think it destroyed my observer's PC. So we're gonna
Okay,
hopefully get
that wasn't
back
me. That
ASAP.
wasn't
No,
me.
it wasn't you.
Okay.
I do scare people by just kind of continuing onwards and predicting what's gonna go on, but yes, that was a little bit of a tech error. Don't worry, don't worry.
Okay, I
always
gotta
do
see.
that.
I was like, man, what happened? How is Mott doing this? I was so confused. Okay, we're going back.
I just predict. Listen, we have over like 1,500 hours in this game. You know how things go down after a fight win, and look at this. Fire's rate ongoing. And Albert's the first one dead. I think worst case scenario here really for Vesuvius. Both bomb goes down, finds nothing either. And Baba Yedu is doing a really good job of kind of playing around that shield and shield dancing. But with the vantage point that Jubs has, you can't really do that for too long.
Yeah, Jub's just kind of shooting from the high ground, targeting so much, and able to actually win out that fight despite being down a couple of players. And now it's a good situation for Vesuvius in order to get more meterage under their belt as we approach 4 minutes remaining. Odyssey Hyperion should win out. No, I think Vesuvius has an almost advantage too. They could extend their lead even more. It's devastating.
Big Thunderstorm only finding Baba and Bochek, but you know what? Those are the two most important people to find. So it turns out to be a very big win here for Vesuvius. And to just kind of rub some extra salt in that wound, we're gonna go for a solo visor, not just onto Nexus, but also onto Wafaru. 100 meters have been crossed, and now we're looking down the barrel of the last portion of Esperanza.
Yeah, now a little bit of swap over that Ramatra off of the Domina, but I mean, I think Ramatra plays even worse into the Queen than before on the Domina, so they do have a lot of ults coming online here. Odyssey Hyperion does, but Vesuvius, they have that Coalescence. They could just give up this fight, you know, force a couple of ults out, and then go back in once a lot of these ults have been extended from Odyssey.
Like here, good orbital. Everyone's look how quick Albert is running away from this orbital ray, and it works out beautifully here for Odyssey Hyperion. And this is the best part, the best place to stop it, because you don't want the momentum to get way too out of the way before you get like no time. So just throw 3 minutes on the clock here. There's still enough time to at least get the checkpoint once more, and then keep pushing towards enemy territory.
Yeah, really good fight win for Hyperion. They forgot about the objective for a hot minute there, but it's all good. They do manage to get back on it, but now, I mean, now Vesuvius has a couple things coming online. That Coalescence is there, and Odyssey Hyperion did a really good job of only using one ult to get the job done, but they need to keep winning these fights without wasting as many ults as possible. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough situation in order to get the job done.
Well, that's not really good. Cole comes out from Balake, but you're just getting completely run down by, I mean, Nexus really is running the lobby right now on this Cassidy. It does, you know, get shut down by that soldier. Rally comes in from the back, and I think Jubs is just kind of, I mean, about to run away to safety, but at the very least, Odyssey Hyperion refresh that, oh no, refreshing the forward spawn, but oh no, what do you mean you die there?
How does he die there? I don't understand. I thought you had 3 people going up with that high ground to deal with the soldier, but now Albert, a one-man army on this high ground with a Lucio. I mean, somehow Jubs is able to find that pick, and so now the bot's going to be stolen away, and Odyssey Hyperion definitely, you know, losing that fight is definitely devastating. And Venom might actually lose to this Lucio as well. This is not good for the side of Odyssey Hyperion.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, where did that bridge go? I thought that they were all gonna go together to jump Jubs there, but I guess not. Rally once again online. We're gonna pull that bridge, and we're gonna get a double, you know, bleeding and anti-nade on the double on the back line, then on the front line as well. Venom finds a kill into Jubs. Finally, a little bit too late for that one, as we do see the bot going right back in the favor of the side of Vesuvius, walking forward, and they're about to clear another couple of meters before the minute marker, really.
Yeah, and they have ults on top of ults, right? I mean, there's an Annihilation on the table, yes, but I mean, they have both of their DPS ults on board, especially with the beat. As we're approaching 2 meters left on the board, they're going to give a little bit of space, though, because Chris Kringle, the Ajaxes. Did he Ajax?
Let's call it. Give me the button. I need the Ajax button, because it certainly was. And even Albert is just in the chat like, what just happened to me? No. I knew. I felt it was gonna happen. The way Venom has been playing, the way Nexus has been playing against Chris Kringle, I felt the Ajax. I just knew it was a matter of when.
I mean, that actually makes it so Odyssey Hyperion have a chance. they cannot lose any more fights. Yes, but there's 30 seconds left. As long as they don't lose any, which it looks like they're about to, as Wafu gonna be taken down by Dubs. I mean, it was looking kind of even for a hot minute where Dubs was taking down Annihilation and top that left, but I mean, that beat taken off of the board is gonna allow them to stabilize things.
They still have to make up, like, what? Over 100, over 60 meters, 70 meters of progress, though. That's the kicker. You have no time. Now we're in guaranteed overtime here. You don't have anything but an upcoming orbital ray. If Bojack does not die at any moment from Jubs, who is already at like a sliver of HP, Pulse Bomb goes nowhere. Thank goodness for Odyssey Hyperion. But we've lost Waifu. Where is my supports? Where is Bojack? Oh no, Grave is taking the back line out. Oh, but Bojack wins that one, but there's no support from the front line. A Cole from the back and this Visor in the other angle. Venom comes back, but it's just a little too late. Bojack, you can see, was on the other side, fighting for his life, but that's all that she wrote. Vesuvius now on match point. Grafstein, why are you over there?
I agree with that question. We have Ray. What are we doing over there? Ray's online. We can use Ray to win the fight, especially if they pop a Visor, but no, not able to get the job done, and now the 2-1 situation for Vesuvius. They just need to win one more map in order to get the job done. And I mean, it's looking like they're in complete control right now.
Listen, I've been there. I'm walking my brig. We're having a grand old time. We're trying to regroup back with our team. There's a Tracer on my left earbud. I'm like, oh, we gonna jump her? And we jump her. I lose my brig in the meantime. I killed the Tracer. And in the meantime, my entire team over there are dead. You know, it sometimes happens to the best of us. Even our beloved Grandmaster players are not exempt from doing a little bit of funny business, you know, but you don't let it get to you at the very least. You know, if you are the side of Odyssey Hyperion, you know that you are down one, you're no longer on match points, not even the scoreboards, but you can make it that way. Of course, with this next map selection being of their own accord, and of the only 2 map types we have left in the game, left in the map selection process between Escort and Hybrid, you gotta pick your poison. They're both payload maps, they can both be kind of boring. I'll admit it, they can both be kind of boring. I feel like Hybrid's a lot more entertaining for a lot of people versus Escort. So if anything, I feel like we're gonna kind of default back over to maybe a hybrid map of some sort.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the hybrid type maps on the table are pretty good for the compositions they like to run. Blizzard World, Hollywood, Midtown, Paraíso. I think a lot of those allow a little bit of a dive composition to be played by Vesuvius. Obviously, they were running that Queen the last time, but they can bring in Happy Dragon again to go the ball if they think it might be better for a hybrid or escort map. Midtown, I think, is where you'd like to go if you're going to be running that Queen again, but it's not their choice. It's going to be Odyssey Hyperion. If I'm Odyssey Hyperion, I'm thinking that I need to go to a hazard map, so I'm picking Rialto. I think I'm picking Rialto if I want to play that hazard again, because I think we had the most success on that hazard, and then take the Lucio off of the board potentially, and then maybe that'll be the play. That's just speculation on my part, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the way that they wanted to go. Maybe like, I don't know. Okay, we're going to Dorado. I was almost there.
Yeah, you were mentioning more dive maps, and Dorado is right there with you, bro. Like, that is one of the diver maps we do have in the current, at least the escort map pool here, because this is not hybrid, unfortunately. I'm a big hybrid fan, but, you know, this also means that if you are the side of Vesuvius, you know that if you lose this map, you have a guaranteed map 5 selection, which is always a big plus if you want to give yourself a little bit of a confidence booster to finish out a series on map 5, and you also will get first ban as well when you go to map 5. So it's not really that bad of a place to go for Vesuvius, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the return of our ball bane, of course, back in the fray. But before we get into any of that, look at this. Bans are coming through. Vesuvius going to be the ones to ban out first, and I'm about to say, they lost. They won. How dare they? Honestly, Hyperion are going to be able to ban out first. Thank goodness, as is their right. And they're going to use the ball ban now. And I have to agree with it here, if not anywhere else. This is definitely the best place to make sure you keep Dragon basically out of the roster. Keep Albert in for something that Albert may not want to play or may be comfortable with, and then call it a day.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Forcing Happy Dragon to stay out of the rotation for a hot minute is a really good, smart idea. But now, if I'm on the Vesuvius, okay, a Tracer Band coming out. A little bit afraid of Venom, it looks like, who did a pretty good job on the last, but now it kind of allows Now, what do you run in terms of flex support or flex DPS? Do you run the Genji? I saw that come out at one point on that last map on Esperanza, but if they do want to keep running that double flex, it's going to be a little bit more challenging now that that Tracer's taken off of the board.
Ooh. There's actually a couple of, there's a couple of flex-based DPS that we have seen. You mentioned the Genji. I also remember having an Echo in there at some point, and that's it. We haven't seen one Vendetta, by the way, which I think is very, very, very interesting, and that's my 2 cents. The ball ban makes complete sense. We're not going to see Dragon come back. We're going to continue to see Albert likely stay in. And on that same note, speaking about players and all that jazz, we have a couple of major substitutions and swaps happening here as well. First things first, as we go, hopefully go into the screen soon enough, we have a swap of Gravelet out, and Elite Zero is coming in for him. And then on the other side of things, for the backline, Luminite is going to be in for Chris Kringle. That Ajax was too much to bear, but Chris, we've all been there, bestie. So Luminite said, you know what? Let me at him. Let me at him on Zenyatta. Please give me a Zenyatta. I'll be so happy.
The Ajax was so bad he was asked to leave the function, as it is going to be a substitute, and I think that these are interesting substitutes. We'll have to see what they kind of want to play here. We do see Elite Zero on that Freya as the preference, but again, that's just another hit scan to add to the equation. That Zen definitely does allow some things to come onto the table if they want to run it. But the Lucio and Kiri are still both on the table, so they could just be running that backline instead. It'll be definitely interesting to see what Vesuvius is cooking up with these substitutions. I'm a little interested in terms of what they'll be deciding to roll out on, but we'll have to see. Okay, Albert.
Albert is giving us a warning, and I appreciate the warning. I don't know what Albert's about to run out on, because Queen on this map, especially if you're defending first for Vesuvius, not exactly like her favorite place to ever walk out on. So we're gonna see Albert come up on that Diva. Ooh, this backline is so sexy. I love the Ana and the Zenyatta. Now, one major flaw here is that they are slow as heck. Like, they do not go anywhere, but my goodness, can they explode a character with Anti-Nade, Discord Orb, Volley, all that jazz. On the side of Odyssey Hyperion, we have Wafaru back on this cat. We saw that a little bit earlier on Ilios, and it had a pretty good amount of effect, especially against Jubbs' Emre, who is not on Emre this time, who is now on Cassidy. But I can't wait to see how Odyssey are going to attack this, as we have I think their combo is a little bit more akin to what you would typically see in a Dorado-style map like this.
Yeah, the Zen is definitely going to make things a little interesting in terms of what they're going to be running here. I wouldn't be surprised if that Zenyatta was just mainly going to be pumping out a ton of damage. We do see Odyssey Hyperion on the Echo Genji, which is a little bit of an interesting comp, but that anti is going to be so powerful. As look, there's the DMEC already for Odyssey Hyperion. That's going to be an immediate shutdown.
That's big. Yeah, you can't do anything without your Diva to at least try to protect or try to attack these high ground spaces. Losing Elite Zero, not really the end of the world. You still have a good amount of damage output kind of because of the Zenyatta Discord Orb. But this is the slow and steady pace of Escort that sometimes can be really, really grating to try to play into. It's all about patience. It's all about keeping your head. Here comes a high ground though. You're going to see us Odyssey Hyperion try to force these guys out. And as I said, very, very, very slow backline. So an Echo like Nexus can just go round over, sticky bomb the Zenyatta, and there goes Luminite, not able to play the game, at least play this fight.
Yeah, it's really good space making from the side of Odyssey Hyperion, but look at their health bars. Baba Yuta taking so much damage, almost gets taken out of the cart. Yeah, there it is! You just die in the neutral. You can't have that happen, otherwise you just can't win a fight without your Diva, as Jubbs finds 2, gets taken low, but gonna be able to get kept alive until Venom dashes up. But this is another reset for Odyssey, and they gotta change something up. Your Diva cannot be diving alone like this.
No, they really can. In the meantime, thankfully, Albert is just, finding all the eliminations in the road first onto Venom, who got a little bit too greedy, seeing a 1 HP Jubbs, but then they kind of just completely dismiss that Diva. right next to him, and then you also saw Nexus kind of get shut down by Albert in the meantime. I will say, this is a strat. I am helping my Sigma fly and becoming a diver himself, and then you kind of carry him over to this long way around the high ground space, and this is a really slow but methodical way to force the high ground away from the defenders. In the meantime, though, Albert seizes the moment and pushes and bullies off Venom from that high ground as well. Ults are starting to become online here, Mega, and this is a very slow fight. Only 2 minutes left on the clock here, so half the original timing has been taken down. Here comes High Noon, and it stopped immediately after.
Yeah, I mean, 1 minute and 40 on the clock. A nice pick on the Venom there. There's 2 more picks from the side of Vesuvius. I mean, this is looking like Odyssey Hyperion are going to get full held. They need to change something up. They have some ultimates online, but Vesuvius is just doing a magical job making sure every player they have is sustained and getting peel. Otherwise, it would be a dire situation. You know, you would think that the backline that Vesuvius is on, the Ana Zen, the most diveable backline you think you could ever see, but they've been able to stay alive because everybody's keeping a watch for each other. So Odyssey Hyperion have to change something up, otherwise it's just going to be a dire situation in which Vesuvius can take this in a really quick fashion.
Nexus looks like there might be a DC happening. I mean, Broges is just standing completely still, so they might call a pause for the Echo players sooner rather than later, or hopefully, yeah, okay, we fixed everything, thank goodness. We're so low, though, trying to get the focusing beam. This Albert being so scary in that backline against the Echo. Here comes a catnap, though. We're trying to kill the cat, and it works out wonderfully, as well as the Zenyatta's Transcendence having to get used just to keep up our D.Va and company. Blade gets popped in the very last second, takes care of the Zenyatta. This could be the opener here for Odyssey Hyperion, as we do see Venom get a double kill. Albert is so low. There goes the D-Mech. For the bomb on the high ground, you hate to see it. Retreats back over to the low ground, and then there's the follow-up from Wafaru of all people. That's how you get things started here.
Yeah, a really nice play there in order to secure the kill onto that D.Va. You needed that. There's 12 seconds on the clock. There should be time for a re-engage. And, I mean, Odyssey Hyperion, they have some potential ults on the table, but it's going to be difficult in order to win the fight out, especially when that rush and that flux is online. But a nice opening pick on the Nexus is going to make things a little bit easier for them.
I also will say Wafaru is being completely iced out by everybody else. I mean, they're looking at this count. You can't even walk over the edge. You can't heal your teammates, which means Venom's dead. Jump still has a dead eye to loot here if need be. And, I mean, that's the end of the fight, but they capped.
It was just actually a C9. Oh my gosh. They actually win the fight out and just a refresh comes. Yeah, Nexus knows it's a C9. That's not great for the set of Vesuvius. It's not bad all too much, but there's going to be a complete like ult economy reset, looking like the Great Depression in the 20s, the way that nobody has any Q buttons available to them. Gravelot is upset, saying, "I'm disbanding the team. I get it. I completely understand. C9s happen on occasion, but now there's 2 minutes on the clock. A lot of ults are coming online here for Vesuvius. They're going to go in with the Nano here. A nice nade can definitely open some opportunities up here."
They're calling it the world's most aggressive nade in the world. My goodness. And even look, the piercing kill, the damage over time takes care of Wafaru and Baby Baba Yedu at the exact same moment. Triple kill for the Cassie, maybe even a quadruple onto Venom, who is able to get a last-minute elimination onto Luminite in the meantime. But finally, Elite Zero's like, yeah, you need to cut that out, Chief. Please and thank you. Only a minute and a half left for our attackers. Defenders looking prime and proper for the Deadeye to come online, as well as the self-grenade from Albert.
Yeah, here's the question now. Can Odyssey's Hyperion's Blade do enough? Nexus getting taken down immediately automatically signals a no, because, I mean, that's already a 4v5 situation. Venom has no dash. I mean, this is looking pretty upsetting here for the side of Odyssey. They have to reset probably yet again, as they don't really have the damage that they need in order to stabilize and stay up here.
I love the visual watching Albert just go right above Ramontra's head and just look for the kill that we're actually like kind of anticipating, which was on the cat. Venom does get a little bit sidetracked here, looking for the Ana, had to dip down a little bit, and Luminite just kind of makes everyone remember why we're playing Zenyatta and how Zen is still very, very strong at the end of the day. In the meantime, my D.Va is very much in there, but Albert has the benefit of a bomb, so we're able to dip down and come back up with relative ease, I will say. Nano gets used onto Albert, who is now able to go super far in, but the Transcendence does not save my Ana, but we gotta save Albert at the very least up on the objective. Flipping the point a little bit here, looking for the Kiriko, no TP, no Suzu, That's a quick kill here for our defenders. Our Vermatra is super far in, getting really greedy on whoever could be possibly remaining for our defenders. And Odyssey Hyperion are gonna not be able to get a touch here, but mind you, they have the cat nap and they had the annihilation, neither of which were able to even get procced the entirety of that last fight.
Honestly, I think the major problem is the fact that, like, they just can't, they put themselves in situations where they can't use their ults in an overtime situation, right? They had the catnap, they had the annihilation, but they just don't pop either of them. And then there's no second touch, there's no first touch actually, and so then those ults go to waste. I mean, Albert, look, 21-1, this diva is a problem. We need to deal with this somehow. If you're the side of Odyssey Hyperion, something needs to change. 21-1, 19-3, Jubs and Albert definitely showing off their skills. But I think that there is a world in which Odyssey Hyperion can hold, potentially. We're gonna have to, or no, yeah, if Odyssey Hyperion can hold, they do make a couple of swaps up. It's gonna go over to that Bathalari. Definitely more of an interesting comp, but I mean, nothing changes from the side of Vesuvius. They feel confident that they can get the job done with the tools that they used before.
You know, for real, I actually really love this backline, Yari and Baptiste. I mean, it's basically hyper stability. We're not going to die. The sustain is going to be absolutely amazing between the Pylon, between the DPS output potential between an Yari and a Baptiste, as well as Bap's Immortality Field and his Shift. Those are just two things that we've been new about, both of which are so good to keep up yourself and everyone around you as Baptiste, right? In the meantime, Nexus is committing to Symmetra, so these 3 turrets are going to be placed up on that half wall, or that full wall you see on the high ground here, kind of protecting your backline a little bit even more further. Albert's going to get very much scouted out early on because the turret in there is going to start beaming down on that diva, and then everyone's going to turn their attention towards Albert, who's now forced for a little bit of a pincer setup from the back and the front. We see the backline pushing the objective here, and one rock onto the Zen, it gets whiffed out completely, but the triple turret scares off the Genji, and then Albert is just completely beamed down by that Symmetra. No more mech available for the diva.
I really like the Symmetra pick. Nexus being able to shut down both the Genji and the diva is so incredibly important. Jub's trying to go for a long angle. Albert not gonna be able to get the mech in time, gets taken out of the fight. And Jubs, I mean, I think you have to get on this Widowmaker, taking so much poke damage, allowing this Emery to have so much space. And Albert, yeah, gonna swap over to that Queen almost immediately. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you're playing into this Symmetra, so I think it's a good swap. We'll have to see how they approach this next attack, as Jub's also gonna swap over to the Emery.
Interesting. Yeah, Albert going over to Queen is pretty fun, but you're going to be just completely out-angled more often than not if you're trying to go the main way. I want them to go up towards that high ground and kind of just do the long way of destroying the high ground phase being taken over by your defenders. And I think just kind of having Jubs also did out the other Emery also works pretty well. You know, results may vary. Look very good here for Vesuvius as we do lose that one Jubs and Nexus as a mutual loss. The Lamb comes out to try to save Bojack for a second, half second longer, but it's just not going to be really much of anything because this entire rush comp from Vesuvius has completely shifted the dynamic here for our defenders.
Yeah, really nice picks here. We do see a Vendetta swap from Nexus. A little late into the engagement, I would say, considering how late we are in the series. If you want to pull out that Vendetta, there were other opportunities to pull it out, but not going to be running it for until this last moment. There's 4 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. They don't have to be... Look, you can see it right there. I can point to it on my screen. That's the goal. That's the checkpoint Vesuvius needs to reach in order to get the job done and secure the series. And they have the tools to get it done. They have both support ults, and they're building really close up to a Queen ult. So the Odyssey and Hyperion have to lock in. Otherwise, this could be devastating.
Okay, I look away from my Queen for 2 seconds and then she is dead. Yeah, but I think Balake and Lee Zero were trying to maybe get the workings of a nano boost going. Maybe without the blade, but either way, it works out. You get a double kill onto the back line, onto the DPS line. May I correct myself? And then you can continue to move over the cart. Jump. What is this aim, brother? Like, hello? The fact that Emery has no recoil is kind of crazy, or very minimal recoil is kind of crazy, by the way.
It is insane, right? Like, I've been thinking about that for a hot minute, but no, now Bobby, look at the Sigma. Look at this poor alone Sigma, just in a bad situation. Jump gets taken off the board, so there's 2 seconds left. They have the luck to visualize to push onto the objective, but there's not a second touch, and that's gonna be it.
Hello?
There's no touch. Hello, Odyssey Hyperion C9 twice in a map.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. Gravela and Chris Kringle are both right there with me on that one. I will consider that a C9 only because the flux came in. You're already up in the air. You can't even touch the point really when you are flux. I think that's something that was a problem back then, and that was it. I mean, we also lost our Ashe. At some point, there was a very late swap to an Ashe that was, I think, overrun by the override protocol, but that's all that she wrote. It's going to be a 3-1 finish here for Vesuvius, losing a very close but insane 2-0 game against Odyssey Hyperion on Ilios, and then they kind of just swept 3-0 on Servaso. Of course, the entire full cap of Esperanza pretty much, and then Dorado was a really good hold with a really big time bank of like over 4 minutes as well. So kudos to Vesuvius, continuing to see just kind of raining terror on their enemies.
Yeah, really good stuff from Vesuvius. A big shout out to both of these teams. I think they both played incredibly well. Odyssey Hyperion, you know, even though they lost this match, this series, it was kind of expected. You know, I'm not going to say, of course, that like, oh, they're expected to lose all their games. But no, this was the number 2, arguably number 1 seed in my mind. And so this was always going to be a tough challenge. And, you know, being able to at least take a map off of the board definitely does, you know, kind of boost things morality-wise. And so maybe, you know, once playoffs come around, if they can rethink their strategy, rethink their comps, rethink their plays, then I think there's definitely a world in which they can make it far.
No, absolutely. And these are a quick reminder of the bans we had seen from map 1 into map number 4. I think all of which were really good. I cannot really complain about any of the bans that we did see today, besides maybe the Soldier, but we did see Soldier a lot in map 4, so maybe it was a educated guess, maybe something they saw in VOD reviews or past matches. They want to prevent it from Vesuvius, but otherwise, it was a really solid map here in its entirety for the side of Vesuvius and Odyssey Hyperion. Really good bans. I have no real complaints about any of them. I think they all had their moments, and I think they all were chosen for good reason, of course. So, with that being said, I think that is the at least the very end of at least this series. We are, of course, going to have an interview for you guys very soon with one of the victors from Vesuvius, and great timing too. Right before playoffs, you can get to see what they're thinking and what they want to, you know, maybe even see who they want to play into for playoffs. So we'll go to a very quick break and get someone on the broadcast for you guys.
Memories. Memories. Memories.
And of course, we are coming back from an absolutely fantastic series here. And even better, we have one of the victors. We have Gravelot coming in to chat with us tonight about the win for this final week of the regular season. Before going into the playoff, Gravelot, I feel like this might have been the win you expected, but did you guys expect to have to go to more than 3 maps against this team today?
I expected to go more than. I expect this to go to map 5, honestly.
Oh,
I'm kind of
can you
surprised.
elaborate? If that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good team. I think they were missing, like, players. So maybe that's the reason, but I expect this to go to map 5 for sure. Like, this is a very top-heavy league. A lot of the teams beat each other, so.
Well, okay, I have another question now. You talk about top heavy in this league, and I have to ask. You guys are the number 2 seed right now. This is the last week of the regular season. You guys are going into playoffs as the number 2 seed. You guys have beaten Lindenwood before, though. You guys lost them in the midseason, but now here we are in the final playoffs, the finals of the season. And so now I have to ask, you guys have been performing incredibly well, and so I have to ask, is there any fear going into playoffs? Are you worried that Lindenwood will beat you guys again in the bracket? Or is there, other teams that could sneak attack you guys and take away your chance to win the whole thing?
I think it should come down to us and Lindenwood for sure. Only team I'm somewhat worried about is Kamazots, because they really want to beat us. They're like it's in like their blood. Like they're gonna get a 10% buff when they play against them, so they might lock in. So I kind of want to avoid them. I think it should come down to us and Lindenwood. But as I said, top heavy league. This could go anyway.
Okay, yeah. And then I had one other question in regards to the match today. I wanted to talk about Ilios really quickly. It kind of felt like you guys, it didn't feel like any bans were out that really hindered the kind of comps that you wanted to play. And so I kind of was wondering, what happened in that first map in order for it to go 2-0 for the side of Odyssey Hyperion?
Funny you should ask that. So basically, Abayetu, their tank player and like their manager or whatever, he comes to me and he's like, so like, does this game matter tonight? And I'm like, not really. I want to try. And he was like, oh, are we gonna like play like actual comps, or like are we just gonna like try out comps? And to be fair, I didn't actually respond to him. I kind of but I expected that's what they were gonna do. I did not think they were gonna like play any like the comps they would actually play. And then they rolled out on Hazard, Tracer, Sombra. So I was like, oh, okay, they care about this a lot. Because I was just trying to get some echo reps in, I don't want to be in Tracer jail forever. So we were kind of just easing ourselves into the game, basically. Okay. We're not a map 1 team. We never have been. Okay. We're easing ourselves into the game. So once that was done with, we're just like, all right, let's give it a go.
I always love when we ask a question and the answer is, okay, so this is what happened. I always love that's the reply of choice. I'm
story time
here for a story, So with that in mind, you guys absolutely played out of your minds here. And when going into Dorado, you guys kept Albert in for both map 3 and map 4. And does Albert usually play that diva? I saw him in the chat go, this is my 4th time playing diva. Is that true?
Yeah, he does not play that character. No, he just plays Junker Queen. Telling us that I've been playing diva in like diamond scrims trying to learn her, and it's not going well. Oh. Then they banned Ball, or Ball one chick is going to play. So he goes, "Can I play some diva?" And I was like, "Go for it." And thing is, he was playing against diamonds, but he was also playing with diamonds. Now he's playing with Balake, who I genuinely think is come to be the best support in this league. So when you have an OP Ana behind you, you can do whatever you want on diva. And he did.
Oh, absolutely. An OP Ana and a Zenyatta backline, yeah, they're good. Everything's dead. Everything's going to die, and that's fine, So, I guess my final question to you is, who do you want to give a shout out to on the broadcast?
Shout out to Jobs. Because he's a aim assist abuser, and I love that we have an aim assist abuser. We finished CGL. We are going full PC, and I don't want aim assist anywhere near my lobbies. While we have it, we're going to enjoy it to our best.
Aim assist abuser? I see.
Okay.
I hope I hope it didn't implicate anything or anything like that. But
No, I just think Amesis right now is overpowered. Like it's really like ever since they buffed it recently, it's just busting right now.
oh,
So
they did buff it past the 0.7 or whatever, right?
yeah.
Oh, goodness.
So like right now, it's just really like for I would say PC players on the most PC hit scans would have an advantage. I think now console hit scans are just like so much more advantage, and console tracers too. I just think Amesis is so busted. So if the season is over, I'm done with Amesis. But for now, while we have it, I'm gonna enjoy it to our best. Win CGL.
I understand it now. Well, good luck to you guys going into the playoffs. Again, second seed. So far, we'll see how everything else kind of falls in line when people do all their matches. But good luck to you guys, and we can't wait to see you guys in the playoffs that are happening just around the corner. I'll bid you farewell. It was amazing to talk to you, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you very much. Also, I'm really happy. This is the first time I've been casted by you, Mati, because I've always watched cast, and I've always been like, oh, I wish they cast for us. They're really good.
Oh,
Happy that
thank
finally
you.
happened.
Thank you. I'm glad I got to I was free finally from my actual job, so I was actually able to cast you. I'm so happy to hear that. Oh my goodness.
No problem. No problem. You too.
And with that in mind, I mean, aim assist, guys. Aim assist. Thank you, Blizzard. They did buff it. I forgot they did kind of buff it a little bit and adjust it in the like 2 patches ago or something like that. So listen, amazing way to close out. So with that in mind, that is our series of the night. Vesuvius taking a 3-1 victory over Odyssey Hyperion. And again, looking very good in the standings. Again, all the other people need to kind of finish up their matches for the week. It's only Thursday. You still got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday coming at you for more CGL Season 17 action, all the way from Diamond up to the very highly coveted open tier, not only in North America, but also in our EMEA streams, which happen at around 2 or 3 o'clock or at least as much as we possibly can, of course. That being said, Mega, anything else you would like to say before we end out the broadcast?
Yeah, just, real quickly, I thought it was so weird that his mic kept cutting out because he said he wanted to be casted by Mott and also Mega Ninja 44. That was so weird. What a weird glitch that happened,
Maybe a
right?
ping issue. I think it was a ping issue.
Yeah, it must have been a ping. Yeah, no, I definitely was. That was so weird and definitely wasn't, targeted against me or whatever. But no, this was an incredibly good match. Vesuvius has the potential to go all the way. I think they definitely can, especially after talking to their players. Time and time again, I think they feel really strong, and I wouldn't be surprised if they can take this entire season. It's been a blast to cast with you, Mod. It's been a blast to have our prod with us. Thank you, Hippie. Thank you, Nano. And thank you, OBS Kachow. This has been amazing, and this has been really fun, and I can't wait for our next cast.
Absolutely. Also, I want to give an extra shout out to Nano, because I believe this is one of the first times they were able to produce for us. At least first time they produced for me, so I want to give a big shout out to them for doing an absolutely fantastic job. It's not hard. It's not easy in that backstage area. It's really, really difficult. So big shout outs to them once again. And with that being said, we will see you guys tomorrow for more matches and throughout the rest of the weekend up until we get to the playoffs. We'll see you guys at the sometime during the week for more CGL Season 8 matches. Season 17, Week 8 matches.
Lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one.